What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Jake Shavink here, and we are kicking off our Packers positional previews for the 2022 NFL Draft, and we are starting with the wide receiver position, which has obviously garnered a ton of interest over the last month since the Davante Adams trade, and hopefully the Packers will spend multiple picks in this draft at that position. So what we're going to do in this video is kind of talk through the trends, the thresholds that the Packers have often used and stayed within at this position. And we'll look at the Goody era, we'll look at Ted Thompson as well, and kind of thin that pool of prospects in this draft to look at who the Packers might select on each day. So when you look at the Goody era so far at receiver, and you'll see the prospects come up on your screen, he's often stuck to above 6 foot, above 200 pounds, and an RAS that is elite. An RAS, relative athletic score, which measures athleticism of prospects through all those testing drills across all the draft classes. So they've mostly stuck to this with Jamon Moore, with MVS, with EQ. Amari Rodgers was a little different, right? But still cleared that 200-pound threshold, but he was 5'9". The RAS wasn't great. So maybe he's going to be used as an offensive weapon type. Maybe they have bigger plans for him rather than just playing slot receiver. If not, then it was just an outlier. They really liked the player. And again, there's always an exception to every rule, right? But when you go back further to the Ted Thompson era, and these picks will come up on your screen from the 2010s, Davante Adams, first one. RAS wasn't all that great. It was still above average, but not great, but still cleared the 6 foot and 200 pounds, right? There were a few guys who didn't clear the 6 foot and 200 pound mark, mostly the 200 pound mark, but you look at guys like Malachi Dupree, Trevor Davis, and Jared Abbrederis and Randall Cobb were the ones. Ty Montgomery didn't clear the 6 foot threshold, but again, remember, he moved over to running back. So again, that positional change. But when you look at the other guys, Trevor Davis was more of a speed threat type. So again, staying a little less on weight, not a big deal in their eyes, probably just because of what he was going to be asked to do, right? Malachi Dupree, just a hair under, right? 200 pounds, but again, was a day 3 pick. So you kind of lessen those thresholds a little bit. You don't tighten your grip as much with that. Same with Abbrederis. He was a possession guy. Wasn't a fantastic athlete either, but again, a reliable guy that they could find later in the draft. And then, of course, Randall Cobb. Ted Thompson obviously viewed him, and so did McCarthy, as an offensive weapon as well. Put him in the backfield, put him in the slot, have him be a kick returner. And they weren't really concerned with the athletic testing, clearly, because his was not good at all. So all that said, from the trends, you kind of see where the Packers normally go in terms of receiver. So now we're going to go into each day of the draft and look at who the Packers might select. So if you go to day 1, I think the clear target here, and you have to talk about this as well in the first round, is age. Brian Gutekunst in now 4 drafts. You've seen him stick to the usually younger prospects. Average age of the prospects he's selecting in the first round is 21.56 years old. So that's got to be factored in at least a little bit. Drake London is the one who passes with flying colors. 21-year-old prospect, 6'3", 219. I know his 40 probably wasn't going to be very good. Not sure how the agilities would have worked out, but I think obviously the size and the explosion would have been really good in testing. So I think the RAS would probably have been in the elite range. And again, a guy who wins contested catches a lot, but can win after the catch as well. Good catch to transition player, forced a lot of missed tackles after the catch. Again, the speed isn't bad, and he can separate underneath, beat press coverage. So those are a lot to like with Drake London in terms of all 3 phases of the receiver position. The other one that mostly fits, even though he's going to be 23 in May, he'll still be 22 when he's drafted, if drafted by the Packers, is Christian Watson, the North Dakota State guy who's risen a ton on boards recently. A guy who, again, had a great Senior Bowl, showed off the lower body flexibility to win in the 1v1s, and then tested out of his mind. So the height, weight, athleticism there, he's 6'4", 211. That's good enough, right, for the position. So he's going to be the speed threat and gadget guy in the offense, right? So again, there's still work to do as a route runner, and you'd like to see him be better at the catch point for a 211-pound receiver, but still fits all the other thresholds as well. So that's the other guy that really fits in perfectly. Now, if you stretch the trends a little bit, and we're going to stretch it at each day, there's a few others that could make sense. Treylon Burks is obviously one of them, above 6 foot, 225 pounds. The RAS wasn't great, right? But he's another type of offensive weapon that you can do a lot with in terms of getting him the ball scheme touches, give him the smoke route, give him jet sweeps, give him quick screen passes. All of these things you can do with Burks to take advantage of that size, that speed after the catch. right? And he's not bad against press coverage either. It's just the route tree needs serious work, and he needs to work on the mental part of route running. So again, still would be a good pick, but would be a stretch in terms of the thresholds. Chris Olave is another one, just clears the 6-foot mark. He's 187. The RAS is elite, though. Can he be that speed threat? Maybe he's their Trevor Davis. However, Chris Olave is a darn good route runner. We know this, right? He stays creative in his stems. He IDs coverage really well, understands spacing, right? Does a lot of great vertical stems to win underneath as well. He's really good at selling vertical, winning underneath routes. So he can do a lot of different things for you rather than just be that easy speed deep threat, but can do it all and would probably be worth stretching those thresholds. George Pickens is the third one. Now he pretty much meets it. He's so close to meeting it and being a Goody type. 6'3", 195 and a 937 RAS, 93rd percentile athlete at the position. Guy who just we haven't seen a lot of recently, right? He's coming off an injury, didn't really do a whole lot in the 2021 season for Georgia, but we've seen the spectacular plays, winning vertically, winning underneath, especially attacking blind spots. He's flexible, he's quick, he's explosive, great hands, makes acrobatic catches. Feels like a guy Rodgers would trust early in his career because of being reliable with those hands, and gives his all as a blocker as well. That is something the Packers really like. Now we move on to day 2 here, and I think it gets really interesting because Alec Pierce is the guy, really, the fit for the Packers in the second round. Now, don't be surprised either if Alec Pierce is a pick at 28, because a lot of teams, I think, will be lining up for him come the second day of the draft. Packers might need to move up for him. So look for a move up from one of the 50 picks, 53 or 59, to get him, or look out for him at 28. Not going to put him in the round 1 group, but could be there. 6'3", 211, 982 RAS. Was fast, good size, and really was good everywhere in terms of the testing. Where does he win? Wins a lot on the vertical tree. Really wicked quick twitch at the line of scrimmage. The releases look good. He can get out of his break clean at the line of scrimmage, and he's got the speed to win vertically, to separate, to stack defensive backs. Wins at the catch point really well. After the catch, there's not a whole lot there, but he's no nonsense, and he gets down the field. He doesn't try to make people miss as much, even though he's a bigger guy. Just says, all right, got the ball, going to get upfield as much as I can. Romeo Doubs is the other one to watch, I think, at 6'1", 201. Didn't get testing numbers from him, but feels like a guy, again, who wins underneath, crisp routes underneath. You know, this talking about the square ends, the slants, all that stuff, and a good vertical threat as well. Can stack guys as well. Good tracker of the football especially, and yes, great hands. Romeo Doubs, he struggles a little bit in terms of winning in the intermediate area, you know, but he's got, again, another guy with short area burst after the catch as well. You can get the ball in a variety of ways. So I think he's one of the guys to watch for on day 2. If you stretch, again, we're going to stretch the thresholds a little bit now. I want to talk about Jalen Tolbert first. At 6'1", 194. RAS was 855. Another guy, smooth player, not the most refined or crisp route runner, but does enough. He takes a lot of steps at the top of his break when you're looking at those comeback routes, those hitch routes. But what he does to kind of make up for it is he continues to work back to the quarterback, which is good to see. Another guy with reliable hands, expands the catch rate. Catch radius is big, and he kind of expands the strike zone for quarterbacks. Go out of his frame to catch passes. Makes some incredible grabs. Yes, he's a great adjuster at the catch point and a good high pointer as well. Pretty good after the catch. Is mostly straight line speed, but that's definitely a guy to watch. He's a guy from South Alabama who was, again, productive as well in college. Another guy to watch for, even though he kind of reminds you of a slot guy, but I think he can be a Z. Khalil Shakir from Boise State, 5'11 and 7/8. So close to 6 foot that maybe they allow it. 196 though, another threshold he really doesn't clear. 801 RAS though does clear that one. He's really savvy with his routes. He does a good job moving defenders. He IDs leverage and coverage really well, and a guy who can separate as a route runner. Now he's really good hands, can make plays at the catch point, got some spectacular catches on tape, and he wins after the catch. Great balance, great lateral toolbox, can make guys miss, pick up extra yardage after the catch. So that's kind of where the Packers would like him as well. Again, a guy who can create space for himself and create post-catch. But again, will Goody be okay with 2 thresholds he's below that he normally likes? We'll see. The other one to watch for, I think, as well, is John Mechie, and Sky Moore will kind of group these two in together just because, again, they're smaller as well. 5'11 and a quarter for Mechie, 187. testing was incomplete. I think he's a pretty fast guy. Short area burst is there, quick to stack, but he's a good technician as a route runner. Hands are a little bit inconsistent with technique. You see him a little bit overlapping his hands, clapping, doesn't make some plays outside his frame that I'd like to see. But again, a strong route runner who, again, you can develop the hands. You can keep working on that with him. Wins pre-catch, wins post-catch, got good burst, and pretty good laterally as well. But you got to obviously watch the injury, obviously coming off an ACL tear. So that's something to monitor. Sky Moore is 5'9" and 5'8", 195, 7.59 RAS. So again, you're stretching pretty big here. I think Sky Moore might go in the first anyway, so this might all be moot for him. But again, another guy with a slot Z, good explosiveness, really big hands as well, and great hands, has a great release package, and is really creative by doing not a whole lot in terms of his release. So again, it's more up here with the head and shoulders with him rather than doing so many, steps or dance moves, as some like to call it, like maybe a Garrett Wilson does, to get open. He's really one step, two step and go, but he stays creative up here with his eyes, with his shoulders, everything like that. So Sky Moore is somebody to watch, but wouldn't guarantee it. Now we're going to move to day 3, and there are some clear fits here on day 3. When you start with Kevin Austin from Notre Dame, 6'2", 200, and a 9.94. This is the prototypical right here. Has enough speed to be a deep threat. I didn't see him do as much in terms of late separation or even really early separation as a deep threat. But a guy who's smooth in his routes and again, good hands. That's important. Also a good blocker. So that's something the Packers might look into. Kevin Austin fits a ton of the metrics and is a fit that I think a lot of Packer fans like. Derek Young from Lenore-Ryan is another one to watch. Real small school that produced Kyle Duggar, 6'2", 224, and a 9.93. This is somebody I haven't really studied a whole lot, but again, the size and speed are very intriguing. Obviously, the athleticism profile is very, very good. So if you want to check him out, you can to get more thoughts on him somewhere else on YouTube somewhere. But that's definitely a guy to watch for. Isaiah Weston from Northern Iowa. Now, Isaiah Weston, quick little note here, going to be 25 pretty soon, but he's 6'3", 214, and 9.62. He's another guy who can win deep for sure, and you see that. You see him dominate competition at Northern Iowa by winning deep down the field. Another guy with good hands. So he's got that deep threat profile, but also his 214. We're in that kind of MVS range with him as well. Another name to watch, this is another deeper sleeper guy like Derek Young, is Tanner Connor from Idaho State. 6'3", 226, 885. Kind of a Treylon Burks size with the testing to back it up. So that's somebody interesting. Played down at the Shrine Bowl, turned heads there because of how fast he was, how physical he played, how good he tracked the ball, and how really impressive he was as a route runner as well for a guy his size. So that's somebody who I think is going to be a lot of teams' radars on day 3. The Packers should be one of them based on the thresholds we see here. Now, again, if we stretch it, again, there's a lot more names to cover on day 3 because I think you can stretch it a little bit further on day 3. Tyquan Thornton's obviously one. Again, kind of like Alec Pierce or Sky Moore, a guy who could go earlier than expected, but I do think Tyquan Thornton could potentially be on the Packers board because, again, if he can add just a few more pounds on, you're kind of looking at another Trevor Davis type in terms of the height and weight. But again, he's got the speed, and he can go up and get it. Catch radius is very good. Hands are good. Just need to survive contact a little bit more, but that's something the Packers might not like with a 180-pound frame. So something to watch for, but has that 8.56 RAS to boot. Velus Jones from Tennessee is one that would probably be a good stretcher as well. Another guy like Weston is going to be 25, but that's all right. We're day 3. We stretch that a little bit, even with age. 5'11 and 3/4, 204, 716. Those are pretty good overall. He's got a lot of work to do as a route runner, if we're being real honest. I just think he doesn't, as good a vertical threat he is, and as good as he can be after the catch with quick screen passes and stuff like that, he has a lot of work to do as a route runner. Needs to be able to sell vertically. You can see him at times in the Senior Bowl reps peeking inside, like he knows he needs to get there at some point. He needs to be full go, I'm winning vertically before he's thinking about getting into his breaks. So that's something to watch for him. Eric Ezukanma from Texas Tech, 6'1", 209, 702, just clears that 7 threshold. Usually they prefer elite athletes, but this is a very good one in terms of that RAS. So guy who wins at the catch point and is tough to bring down and pretty quick after the catch as well. Just a guy who can win in both of those phases really well. Another guy who's a little bit more raw as a route runner, but still, I think there's plenty of upside to work with him. if you don't get a guy like London early or Pierce early and you want the size, a little bit more size later, or maybe not size, you should say better catch point skills. Like Azukama, you can get that later. Braylon Sanders is one, just clears 6 foot, but he's 194, 761. Guy who did pretty well down the Senior Bowl. He's a pretty good slot guy, you know, reliable hands, solid route runner. He's more fluid than Chris, but a player who I think the Packers would probably consider. Last on the list, I have Jaquari Robertson from Wake Forest. Again, doesn't really completely fit. He's 6 foot, but 186, has 902. So he's a size speed threat. Won down the field a lot, pretty productive player at Wake Forest. If they want to stretch the thresholds for him, wouldn't be surprised either. So there are a lot of names on day 3, but I think the 4 we mentioned earlier are the ones to watch for the most in terms of what Goody normally does. Now, could they stretch it even further? Potentially. You know, you get a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who's still young as a slot receiver, gadget type. Maybe they think he's Randall Cobb and they don't care about the thresholds there with him. Maybe that's possible. You know, I wouldn't rule it out. Jamison Williams is another one, obviously not to completely rule out because, again, how much did the injury really affect his weight? We're not sure. It felt like he didn't play much more than 178. Maybe he was in the low 180s. But again, would you break the trend for that guy? I kind of think so. I think I probably would. So Jamison Williams is another one to watch for. But again, I think when you look at the list we kind of provided here, don't be surprised if we see 2 or 3 of those names in green and gold by the end of draft weekend. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video previewing the wide receiver position for the Packers for this coming draft. If you did, throw a like down there, subscribe if you're new. If you made it this far, you're a legend, and you should join me and my friend Nate for our draft show starting next Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. We'll be on Friday as well for day 2 at 6 p.m. Central. That'd be awesome to see y'all there. Tell your friends about that if you made it this far. So I thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.